Hey there everyone, welcome back to Gamevine, and my name is Dave.
Trevor.
Chris.
And today we're reviewing a Haba game as a crew, but this is a first for us because normally I'm reviewing the Haba games for the kiddo because they make yellow box games for kids. But Haba has branched out to family games and made this one here of many of the family games that they've done called Adventureland. Now, the theme of Adventureland is you're a party of adventurers going out to fight evil fog monsters and try to get as many swords and or gold as you possibly can to win the game. There are 3 different scenarios though, so just as you think that you've actually mastered one game, you can go to the third one and play a completely different game.
Yeah.
Now, Haba, I think the theme is there, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah.
I mean, you feel like an adventurer really taking out those nasty fog monsters, but I mean, beyond that, it's really just 100 square grid that you're moving your adventurers on to try to accumulate the most points according to the end goal that you need to meet. So, with that said, let's go on to the components and show you how to play this game, and then we'll give our opinions.
Yay!
Let's go. So here are the components of Adventureland. First, I want to go over the cool graphic art. Haba didn't do a yellow box. Again, they're doing different kind of full art print for their family games, and this is one of my favorites so far. So let's get into the wooden components. Always done nice and painted well. You got them in 4 colors here for the adventurers, and they even have their little square cube here, which is going to be tracking your score around the board. But the characters aren't just regular meeples. They have like a little sword because they're adventurers. Pretty cool, right? These shiny kind of meeples here, these are companions. These aren't a particular player, but you can gather these and they can become part of your team, which I'll get into that a little later. The last wooden component we have here are the big dice. Haba, they're a big fan of making big, visceral dice that have shiny pips, which I'm a fan of as well. So, now that we've done that, let's go over the cardboard components. You have the herbs. They have different various numbers, but the backs are the same. Cool art. The pieces of gold here, cardboard, thick cardboard, done very nice. And then you have the swords. They have just swords with no numbers and swords with 1, 2, 3, I think maybe 4 in there too. I'll tell you why that is in a second. And then we have the fog monsters. All the backs look the same, but they have different values of points that you get and life points that they have. And even the art is different. If you've noticed, the fog monsters, no 2 of the same number will look the same. They didn't need to do that. They could have repeated the same art, but they did because they're Haba. So then we get the cards. These are just basically simple cards. They're going to be calling them off like bingo. And it's going to tell you what you have to do. And then you finally get the quest that you're going to be doing. They have 3 different types of adventures that you're going to be doing, 1, 2, or 3, and it'll tell you exactly how to play. Most of them are the same rules, and one of them has a minor tweak in moving, but I'll explain that right now to you as I tell you how to play the game. Let's go. Oh, and the one other component that I left out is the water sprite. Nicely done, a wooden piece. And then we have the board, which I think is gorgeous and nicely done, but that's my personal preference. So this is the game set up for 3 players. There are going to be different variations for a number of players. If it's 2 players, you're going to be populating the board with 8 cards, and you're going to have 2 more adventurers. If it gets 3 or 4, you're going to take some adventurers away. And the amount of companions and swords are going to be determined on the amount of players too. That's important because the game ends when companions and the swords have been completely depleted from the reserve. So we're set up for a 3-player game. We have all of our adventurers here and our little scoring track, and now we have to pick which adventure we want to go on. This one here, number 2, is the Magnificent. You score points at the end of the game, and you're trying to group your adventurers and companions together to make the biggest group, because the biggest group earns 3 times the number of that group, and that's the only one. And this allows you to tweak the movement. Sometimes you're going to be jumping over players, but in 1 and 3, the adventure, you can never combine 2 adventures together. But in Magnificent, you can do that, and that's just a minor tweak. The first adventure here is, I think, the easiest and the one that has the best entry level. It's the Fellowship. It's giving me points now, and you get gold and all that kind of stuff, but some things don't count for points like in other games that they do. herbs and swords, so you just want to go out there and fight fog monsters. So that's basically your thing that in Adventureland. You're going out there trying to accumulate stuff to earn points, but ultimately you want to fight those fog monsters. Because, I mean, yes, we don't like fog monsters. We want to take those out. They are dangerous and a blight on this land. So the third and last adventure is area control. As you can see, there's cities here, and populate the cities with your adventurers gives you the points there. So I'm not really going to go over the points, but I'm going to show you how to play the game, and that is going to be really standard throughout all three games. The thing I like about this thing is having three different ways to play is it brings so much variety, and there is an easy, I think, game, and the other two are, you know, a bit more advanced. So there's that. So on your turn, you simply are going to do two things. You're going to be drawing two of these cards. The first one you'll draw here, and then you'll call it out and put whatever it says on the board. So this is F3, so we'll go down and put it on F3, and then we just discard that. And we draw a second one on our turn, and we do whatever it says. Now this is G7 and a gold piece, and this is when the sprite comes into play. So G7's right here. The sprite normally would be off the board, but once a piece of gold comes out, he goes to the last one that's been played. Say that we've played another one and we put it right here, he would advance down the river and go there. Now it's pretty cool to get gold because it allows you to re-roll when you're fighting the fog monster, which I'll get into in a second, and or they're worth 2 points too. But if you have an adventurer in between the area and the sprite so happens to go past you when one of the cards is drawn, that adventure is gobbled up and out of the game forever. So that's how the goal works. So you'll draw your two cards, and now you're able to move one of two ways. Now you can move your adventurers in a straight line as far as you want and then land, and you can gather things this way. Like this sword here, I would be able to gather it. I'll take and look at it, and this will give me a sword and a chance to roll a dice when I'm fighting fog monster. Again, I'll go over that in a second, but we'll claim that in front of us. Or we could have done one space move with two different adventurers. Why we might want to do that? Well, there might be stuff on the board. Because as you are going turn by turn, this board's going to populate a lot faster than you might think. It's going to get herbs, which herbs are worth their value in some games and points here, and or you can use these as their value of fight against the fog monster. We're really building up to that fight against the fog monsters, aren't we? The other thing that we have in here, let me grab a few cards so you can see it, is a companion. Now companions are pretty cool because each adventurer gives you one fight to your +1 to your fight when you're fighting those dreaded fog monsters. But if a companion is in a city and you move like one here and then one here, he is now grouped with this adventurer and forever throughout this game, and he gives you +1 to your fight. Now this party is to fight. Now, like I said, the herb right here is going to allow you to get more fights. So if you have this party here and you have 4 here, and then you have this sword, you're going to be able to have 6 fight right off the bat, and an opportunity to roll 1 dice. You can use up to 3 swords to roll all 3 dice. So when one of these dreaded fog monsters comes out, you're able to just flip him over and see what he is worth and his life points. That's how much you have to get to defeat him. Using swords, herbs, as much as you want. If you can get to that number equal or above, you beat him. This is the victory points that you get. Now in some games, you're going to be rewarded the victory points immediately. In some games, you're going to be rewarded the victory points at the end. So you'll either take this and put it in front of you, or just reward the victory points and discard it. So let's say it's right here, and we have 4 and 2, so 6, and we have our 1 sword. Let me grab a sword that has a number on it. This sword has a 2, so let's say we're going to play this sword 2. This gives us another dice, so we're rolling 2 dice, and 2 more to our actual fight. So now we're up to 8. Now we're going to roll this, and we got to get at least a 4. Now we got a 3, and if that happens when we move on to the fog monster, of course that's how you have to do it, our adventurers would get beat, gobbled up, whatever, and taken off the board. But let's say if we had a gold piece, we could choose to relinquish this gold piece, whether we've gotten points for it this game or not, and re-roll any dice that we want. And we got another one. But let's say that we actually beat the fog monster. It will get discarded and added to your stockpile however you're playing the game. And that is how you fight the fog monsters. And the other things that you can do that I didn't mention is you can hop over other players, but you can never land on the same spot unless you are playing the game Adventure 2 and you're playing the Magnificent. Your colors can always team up, but they always are locked like that. You can never split them up afterwards. So that is the basic gameplay. You'll continue this process, flipping over these cards, populating these boards with all these various different goodies and moving the little water sprite and fighting all these fog monsters until the end of the game is triggered, which again you have a certain amount of companions and a certain amount of swords. Once the last one is drawn from the stockpile, you'll complete that round. Being the first player, if he draws the last one with this card here, he will complete his turn and other players will do that, and then you will end the game. Add up all your points, and in different variations, they'll tell you how it goes. Like some points will be awarded for herbs, gold will be worth 2 points in some games, but in like the first one, you're going to see who is further on the track, and that is going to be the end of the game. In the second one, you're going to do some score tallying and find out who the Magnificent is. And the third one, you're going to see who has the most area control on the cities, because the person who populates the most is worth a certain amount of points, which is going to let you know. But you're really just trying to adventure and tell your stories about your adventures and gaining points via that way. And the person with the most points via that way is the best adventurer. So that's how you play the game in a nutshell. So now let's tell you what we think and give this game a grade. Let's go. So that is Adventureland in a nutshell. That's all the components, and that's how you play it. Now, as we always do on the Game Vine, I'm going to be giving this game a percentage or a letter grade, and these guys are going to be doing 1 through 10. So, what did I settle on for Adventureland? Now, I'm a big fan of Haba, and there might be some bias here, but I gave this one a 91%, and this is on the road to being one of my favorite Haba games, though I think there's one that might be better. So tune in to our top Haba games and find out what that is, but for right now, you know that this is probably going to make the list. I love that Adventureland is highly produced, as always with Haba games, and I love that it's something different, nothing like crazy complex, but they took a system of the grid system here and made something where you can further strategize in other games. You see the board for what it is, you know how to play it, but you have to play it accordingly to the actual scenario. And I think that's where a lot of the strategy is. It doesn't take a lot to learn this game, but it does take a bit to master. I love the theme, it's there and apparent, but not dripping with theme, but it doesn't need to be. It's a game that really sets out to bring the family experience to this kind of gathering and or area control. The thing that I like about this game is it has variety. The first one that we played is just try to get points right now and score at the end of the game. The player who has the most points is the winner. The one that I play with my wife and the other one that I play with my kid, the area control, when you're trying to be the most in the city and gain points that way, the person who has the most in the current city gets the most points. And the Magnificent one, where you're trying to get the bigger groups, that's the person with the biggest group gets that many points times 3, and that really just takes the game. So you're really focusing on trying to get points, but you want to have the biggest group because the biggest group is the only one that actually scores. Right. So I love the variety. I mean, I could just keep talking about this game. It's one of my at least top 5 favorite Haba games, but I'm going to relinquish my opinion to one of these guys because I could do this all day. So, who wants to go next?
Chris.
Me?
Chris, what do you think about Adventureland, my man?
So,
on your first Haba review,
it
by
was,
the way.
yeah, it is. I'm going to give this game a 6.
Interesting.
Ouch. Yeah, it's not that it's a horrible game. It's the components are there. The game itself's there. It's an easy game. Like Dave said earlier, this is actually the first time me and Trevor played it, and we caught it on pretty quick, I think. And it's not bad. I mean, it's kind of like a bingo game to me. Is what I feel like when we were playing. As we're flipping the cards, and we just said what letter and number, and whoever's closer to it put it out there, which was cool. Like I said, all the components look really cool. They're not horrible. The little figures though, I would prefer them if they had like a sticker on them.
Really? You
Like
want
a
more
sticker
than
of a
that?
character. Yeah.
And Haba normally does that.
But they don't look horrible. It's just I think I want a little bit more detail on these guys. That's it.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I'm just used to the regular meeples that have like an A shape to them,
Mm.
where it looks like these guys they're not in the A shape of a regular meeple,
Gotcha.
but but it looks like they're fighters.
Yeah.
So this is like a shield and sword
Sword,
probably.
Right.
But it would have been cool to have like a little sticker slapped on there maybe.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. I don't think that would have made the score any higher, but that score doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to play this game again. If there's any other time that anybody wants to play this game, I'd play it again. No
Gotcha.
doubt.
It's something you're seeking to play.
Yeah, it's not that I would want to go out of my way to play, but if everybody else wants to play it,
yeah.
like if he wants to
I
play
would
it
make
every
him
time,
play it.
I would play it.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it's not that bad. But like I said, I'm giving it the 6.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Trevor.
I had decided I don't want to embark into your territory with the letter grade and percentages, but I am going to start allowing myself
I will put the graphic up.
the use
0.5.
of
I'll put it
fractionals.
right here.
Go ahead.
Because I like this one. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
7.5.
7.5.
Okay.
Right there.
Which is a solid score for me.
I really like this game a lot more than you guys.
No, I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
But I guess for me, because I was thinking about this and like thinking about, oh man, I need to go back to my reviews, and I feel like if something is like 8.5 or higher, like that's a really, really good game for me.
Gotcha.
And I would like to play this again, but I guess if I came down here and we're looking at the shelves,
Okay.
and if I had 10 games to pick out or 20 games to pick out, this just might not make the cut. So
Gotcha.
I guess for me, if it's above an 8.5, it's an amazing game and with only a few flaws.
Fair enough.
So this is still a really good game. It's just not. It's not really bad. I think there could be a time if you put this on a table in a group of 5 games or so, chances are I would pick this game to play,
Gotcha.
depending on what the other games are. But if I'm pulling it out of all the shelves, it's just not going to be that. Aspects of the game that I like, I do feel like there's a very big theme of luck. You have obviously random placement of these different tokens, whatever it is, if it's gold, monsters, if it's herbs or swords, all of this stuff is very randomized, but there's still an element of strategy. I mean, if you are not trying, if you're just willy-nilly moving people, it's not like you're still going to win because it's all based on luck. There's still a very heavy form of strategy that you have to take to actually go across the finish line. So I like that.
Speaking of I didn't touch on it, but I know how you felt about it when we played. The strategy part comes in later. It doesn't come in right away because I think when we first started playing, where do I move?
Yeah.
I don't really know where to move until like the stuff gets out.
Right.
I think at that point, but I think that took care of itself. Definitely, I would say within by the second round because there was already a decent amount out there.
Once
I think
stuff
the
gets out
first
there.
round, it's really just like, man, if there's something I can take, I'll take it. If not, I'm just going to randomly move either 2 guys one spot or 1 guy just out in the middle to kind of get me out there,
Right.
So you can get that
preparing
lucky.
for when something
Right.
happens.
Right.
Um,
And that's one of the things that I want to touch on. The luck doesn't bother me because one of the things that I love about this game is having a person on a spot and then it gets drawn on the
Right.
card and then
Yeah.
it just immediately goes to that person.
Right.
I don't know. I could get it even if it's you that gets it. I mean,
Oh my God! Somebody else got it.
and like you said, I mean, we're basically just summing up our final thoughts on this.
Yeah.
I like this game for the strategy, the foresight that you have to have for this, because like if you're going after companions, this big city right here, this is what you're going after. But if you're going for points, you might just try to go for gold and maybe try to take out the fog monsters instead. And that's why I think the variety for me keeps the game fresh and it makes me want to play it over and over again. I think the replayability is there and why my grade might be higher. So do you guys want to send off any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
A really good game. I think very playable, even requestable, I think some people would say. I think ultimately for me, I've decided I have to get a little more critical because
Absolutely.
if I give everything a 9, I feel like a 9 for me or like a 9.5 would be like it's almost perfect, and I think there are very few games out there that are that high. So I think for me 7.5 is a solid grade. I would recommend you buy this game even.
Absolutely.
It's definitely something worth buying and playing multiple times.
And who do you recommend this for?
I'm the same way though. Like I said, a little bit there. I'm at a 6, but I don't necessarily know that this would be like a family game. I know you play with your daughter.
Yeah.
But like I know, Trevor and I usually have a family night. I don't know if I would really bring this one.
It might be a little more complicated than something that
Yeah,
you might do. But that's the thing about Haba. It's still simple, but they are
It is
kind
simple,
of branching off to like an older age.
Right,
So
this
they can
is
have more
simple.
games.
If your family is playing more gamer, like very heavy games, this is a
Yeah.
good type of game for that. But like we're more of like kind of a party having
We
fun
wanna,
kind
like,
of
yeah,
night,
we
and
wanna
I
get,
don't
like,
think
5
it
games
fits
maybe,
for that
but-
type of family.
But not this one. That's all I would say. I wouldn't. But and this one goes back to who you would play with.
Yeah.
If it's any of us, no problem. A new person like younger kids or whatever,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't.
I think
That's
this is
just
heavy. I think this
that's
is
just-
heavy enough for a gamer group.
Oh,
Sure, yeah.
I think it is.
The first scenario I think is much easier.
Right.
It's really the other two scenarios get a little deeper. But I mean, yeah,
But
this
it's still
game,
a great game. Still
I would
a great
recommend
game.
this for most families and or any gamer. I think a gamer is going to like this, and I think that's kind of what Haba was setting out because they have so many kids games. Why not try to
I think
gamify it a little
any
more?
gamer should have this.
Right,
Every
and
gamer should have
This
this.
is actually designed by Wolfgang Kramer and another designer, very renowned people, and that's what Haba tried to do. So, I mean, that's basically our thoughts. We really do like this game, some more than others. Me, absolutely more. I don't know, something about the grid system, it just makes me giddy. So thank you so much for watching today's review. I've been Dave.
Trevor.
Chris.
And until the next time that we all see you, have a great rest of the day and a great time with all the Adventureland that you played. You heard it here on the Game Mind. We're out.
Bing bang boom.
Bye, everybody.
Wow.